Welcome to our account of days 13 and 14 out of a 21-day trip we took on the St. Johns River and tributaries in spring of 2024. Our boat is a 1971 Hobo houseboat that I restored, and that's a lot of what the channel was originally about, and we're trying to include our boating travels as well. So I hope you enjoy this account. Perhaps you'll go on the St. Johns sometime. Here's Google Maps on our desktop computer. For reference, there's Orlando. Here is Sanford. That's where we started our trip on day one. We worked our way all the way up the St. John system, going off on various creeks and through different lakes, and on up into where the river gets fairly wide, 2 to 4 miles wide. And we got to Jacksonville. So let's zoom in. We started day 13. Go to this topography, or the satellite image rather. We started out here on the Ortega River, a shallow anchorage here in a marshy area beyond the fine homes. We headed on up the Ortega past our 3 bridges. 2 of them had to lift. This was a big day, as our first destination was going to be Jacksonville. We had 3 bridges to get through to get over the Ortega. The railway bridge was up. Another bridge we had to call in for the Ortega bridge, and they did a lift for us. We got out into the St. Johns River. We saw our first working boat. And we came up into downtown Jacksonville. Here's another sophisticated graphic. The Ortega River is back that way, and we're coming up the west shoreline, and here we are, Jacksonville downtown. The river takes a sharp 90-degree turn there. You can see the bridges in the distance there. Or at least one of them, that we're going to be crossing under. So here and here. It's really beautiful weather right now. Very little traffic at all. This is the I-95 bridge. It's plenty high for sailboats with large masts to get through. We just sailed on through there. We got here. These are 2 bridges in parallel. There's a first thing is a railway bridge, which you'd have to be in a canoe to get under. It's very low. And there was a train. The bridge came down and a train was going across by the time we arrived, so we had to wait here.
We're now in downtown Jacksonville. That's the Bascule Bridge up there, and we've just passed through the Fuller Warren Bridge behind us.
You can see a sailboat over there, and the Baptist Hospital. It says right on there, Baptist Health. That evidently is a good place to anchor. It's sheltered. The train bridge is there. I think it was something like 9-10 feet, and someone else recommended that to us, that there is noise of highways and that, but it's protected. You're up against the buildings and so on. So that's kind of interesting. So the Bascule Bridge here is normally open except when there are trains coming, and they've got flashing lights that will flash red, 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 and 8 minutes after it's going to close. Beyond it is a traffic bridge, which is fairly high, and a boat with a sailboat mast could get through that. We waited here. We saw shark around here. Actually in this area we saw at least 1 sailboat anchored. Okay, now when you call the Bascule Bridge and they don't open, there's a reason for it. There's a CSX train coming, and this is the span that would normally open. That's the big, oops, my pointing isn't very good here, but you can see the big counterweight here. Counterweight right there. CSX train. I just shut the engine down here. We're just coasting lightly. We might circle back. We'll hover in place. We'll see how long the train this is. Yep. Once the bridge opened, we started up and we drifted off to one side, so we got back through. The shark just came up again. Seeing the shark for the second time was a big deal for us, you can tell. We proceeded through the under the bridges, gawked at a few of the downtown buildings, and we got to the Main Street Allsop Bridge, hung a right, and there was one of the free docks right there, and that's where we planned to tie up for the night, or at least to sightsee. Time would tell. This is the John T. Allsop Bridge. There's waterfront dock right there. There's a water taxi landing right here. But you can tie up here, and it's a fairly nice and secure dock, other than the fact it is exposed to wind and wave and wake. And we ended up not staying the night here. We thought we might be able to, but we just tied up for a few hours and looked around downtown Jacksonville a little bit. We're looking across to the main skyline. We're on the south shore. That's the north shore of the St. John's. We came through the Bascule Bridge and I forget, Acosta Bridge, I think it is. And we're settled here. And we saw a shark, 3 sightings of the fin, just the other side of the railway bridge. Off now somewhere up here to the Museum of Science and History. Jacksonville has a lot of dock space downtown, and that is great. And the fact that it's overnight and free is great. One thing I did not find as much information on the Jacksonville website, or at least clear information as far as what was available and where prior to visiting. Now that I've seen it, I see it all and it makes sense. There's a lot more than I thought there was. The other thing is at the time, a lot of it's under construction. It looks pretty much complete, but on the North Shore, there's a lot that is under construction and closed, particularly down towards the east end below the Everbank Stadium. And that will be, once it's completed and opened, a very, very nice marina setting. Well, when we were done our walking on the South River Walk, we thought we would cross the Hart Bridge, that's the Main Street Bridge, across to the North River Walk. The center section of this Hart Bridge raises 141 feet above the water. This all appears to be new dock, but you notice there's a sign there, orange sign, construction, and it's all being constructed there. So this is all new dock. Those docks like we have over there where we are, they have nice plastic lumber faces, the really heavy, stable docks, like cement filled, and they're on rollers, of course, so they float, but they wouldn't bounce so much. They'd be damped a bit. So this will be available later this season, perhaps. This is April 2nd or 3rd. You can see the water flowing. It's at ebb, soon to go to slack. I forget the exact timing, so it's not the peak ebb time, but coming towards slack. There is a current. Be careful the currents. When you're docking, for instance, over there, we dock into the current. There's a small shark. Wow, small shark. It was maybe 4 or 5 foot. The one we saw over there had a really big fin. This was a little smaller. There is no, it's a dolphin. I'm sorry. That is a dolphin. It's gray.
What's a dolphin?
The shark we saw earlier was definitely a shark fin, and it was black, but little dolphin there.
Wow.
It's submerged. There it is, right there. When we got across the bridge, we turned right and followed the waterfront, and then also the one street that is just one up from the waterfront. We inspected the dock areas. Well, we parked over there on the south shore, and there's construction down there on dock, but this one is active and available here on the east side of the bridge. Okay, so if you want, you can tie up here. It's a little bit closer to the channel in terms of any wake or whatever, but that's good. This is a good place to tie up, possibly, if you're going to go down to the, you can't see it, but down to the Oric, take a walk. We saw quite a few restaurants and places to go if you were going to eat. We got some street food. This is Nick and Tiffany. Nick's business is in the nick of time, and he prepares right on the street specialty sandwiches, and they're really good. We had a really good time talking with them. They're a fun couple. We did sort of a little interview with them, and I'm going to put that, it's about a minute long, onto a YouTube short, so you could look for that separately. We enjoyed Dominic's sandwiches sitting on the waterfront just south of their stand, and here's a view of the Allsup Bridge. It shows the span very well. My impression was that the North River Walk was a little more developed, in terms of artwork and utilization by office workers, a little more than the South River Walk. There is, if you continue here somewhere, one of these here is a Maxwell House coffee factory. You can arrange tours there, but it has to be, there it is, Maxwell House Coffee. It has to be made through prior arrangement. There were about 4 things we wanted to do in Jacksonville. One was dock, one was eat. Hey, that's good. One was to see the Museum of Science and History, closed. The other was to see the USS Orlick. It's a naval vessel that has been moved to Florida. There's the Gator Bowl. Here's the USS Orlick, USS Orlick. Guess what? The Orlick is closed, just like the Museum of Science and History. I'm going to drag you along the riverfront a little more. We have here the Everbank Stadium, and it's the Jacksonville Jaguars football team plays there. Right below it, you'll see something here. This is the place you want to stay. If you're in a smaller boat, you want a free dock, this is where you go, Jacksonville Parks. But it's still under construction. It looks substantially complete, but it's all new. It's not ready yet. Maybe summer 2024, maybe, I don't know how fast we're going to move on this. So we headed back. We got back to our boat and we said, it's just looking a little too wakey out there for us. So we headed on down the river. As we headed downriver, we followed the north shore and viewed the sights from the water side, many of the things that we had seen from the land side. We proceeded, saw the new Marina, not quite open yet also, and then proceeded through or under the Hart Bridge towards the Arlington River. We went into the Arlington River. The Arlington is more of an estuary. It's in an urban area. We first hit the University Boulevard Bridge, followed by the Cesare Bridge, and then we would turn into the Pottsburg Creek. It's the Arlington River, and at a certain point here, it becomes Pottsburg Creek. I think it's very shallow down here. And we explored all the way down, passing under the Atlantic Boulevard Bridge, and very finally we squeaked in underneath the Beach Boulevard Bridge to get to the boat ramp there. The farther we traveled up Pottsburg Creek, the more rustic it became. Under this bridge with inches to clear, and there's a boat ramp right there. This is Beach Boulevard. We stopped there, and if you needed gas, you could get gas here. It's very close to gas stations. We just went just to look, and we had a birthday card to mail, so we mailed the birthday card. We just came under that bridge. We left the St. John's onto the Arlington, and then off onto the Pottsburg Creek, and we came up several miles. This bridge, we had to remove the flag and the anchor light, and we cleared with, my wife's not too specific, but less than a foot. From inside the cabin, it looked like, shoot, that's a squeaker, 4 inches or whatever, but she had to duck a little bit when she was standing there, so it cleared by inches. And we're here. We can't really tie up here long term. We've got a birthday card to mail, so we're going to look for a mailbox. Turns out we don't need fuel. One of the original reasons I researched this ramp was there's some fuel over there. We could have taken our dolly, but we're pretty good on fuel. And we spotted some anchorages farther back on Pottsburg. There aren't too many. It's very populated, but we're going to go back there after we try and mail this letter and anchor for the night. In the old days, a guy would just look out at a piling on his dock, read a number on it, phone it in. But now, of course, we have automatic equipment like this. Then we moved on back up, and this is very shallow creek, very shallow. If you get off to the side, you really don't have a good place to anchor. And then once you get into these populated areas, there is not a really good place to anchor. So we looked and we found just an area. There was a large church and some property there just on the north side of this bridge right here. And we anchored there for the night. We were very close to a line of crab pots, but we gave enough room for the guy to do his crab pots in the morning. But that's where we anchored, and it was actually not a bad place at all, even close to a bridge. There's a school right here, and they were doing rowing. A little bit of rowing going on here.
You keep washing out a little bit. We gotta make sure we keep that blade in the water, all right?
Kind of interesting. This is where we're anchored here on Tuesday night. We're just below a bridge. What was it? Alt 90, number 10. Alt 90 number 10, so it's more of an urban affair. There's a boat marina there just for the condos. We got crab pots. We're nestled inside the crab pots. We've got an anchor in about 4.5, 5 feet of water. The back's on just under 3. We got a side anchor out to keep us from veering that way. And there we are. That's some bare land. I think there's a church over there, some grass. So this is our urban anchorage. This is what you do. Look at those guys turn. Isn't that great? Sculling. I've not seen that. They're doing a 360. Yeah, that is cool. The coach, of course, he gets the motor. It's a muggy morning. There's going to be a little rain this morning. Pretty gusty winds. So we're probably not going to go to our final destination today. We'll go see what it's like. Crab pots. The guy came by and changed the crab pots. He did a crab pot in about 60 seconds. He circled around, dragged it up, had a couple crabs in it. Guess they're too small, threw them back, dropped it back in. Yeah. Cool. Wow. This is a brief summary of our day 14, a preview. We started from our anchorage next to the Atlantic Boulevard Bridge, and the weather, we heard it wasn't going to be particularly good. It could be stormy or windy, but we proceeded up Pottsburg Creek, Arlington River, and out just into the protected area of the St. John's behind Exchange Club Island, and we landed on the island. And we explored there for a while just to see what would happen, and weather looked not too bad. We then thought, well, we need fuel anyhow, and then we'll see what to do after we get that. We went north further to the Arlington Marina, and we fueled up our one empty tank. And at that point, the weather forecast wasn't good, and it was looking threatening. So we headed back down south, and the idea was, hey, we could anchor here next to Exchange Club Island. It's fairly protected there. So we did. We ran into some issues, some wind, squalls picked up. We were dragging anchor. We'll get into that maybe later. And we dashed back into the Arlington River. And by the time we got back to an area we chose for that night's anchorage, things had settled down quite a bit. So that's the synopsis of that day. Let's show you a little bit about that.
We're approaching Exchange Island. Exchange Club Island, excuse me.
We docked the boat and proceeded to explore. Here, this is the inside edge, the mainland and Exchange Island that we're on right now. And they've got permanent mooring. They've got mooring balls here, but this makes a nice little anchorage. So we know the water's relatively deep here for us. You can get 5-8 feet fairly quickly, and it's nestled in a curve. So this is nice and calm here. We explored the interior of the island on foot. There are quite a few lagoons there. The north part of the island is marshy and not accessible. There are no trails. In the middle here of Exchange Club Island is a little lagoon or oasis, so kind of interesting. There are a number of picnic pavilions like this, and trails around the island. Around 1940, this island was formed through dredging, so it was just a pile of mud. It was called Mud Island. In the 50s, a civic group called the Exchange Club lobbied to have it turned into a park because in 1951, I think it was, that the bridge went across, and Matthews Bridge, and it landed one of its piers on the island. As of 1960, it became a city park. And now, this old hobo exclusive. While on the island, our investigations turned up a water-sodden piece of paper that indicates there is someone else who seeks to take control of the island. Like good Canadians, we thought we'd butt out of somebody else's revolution. So the view from Exchange Club Island on the, I guess it would be the west side. Yeah, we came from Jacksonville there, We were in the Arlington River down there, but we're on the island now. We come around that bridge, go around, continue the bend around that bridge, and then there is a bridge in the distance. The bend continues around and goes straight north. It looks sort of calm on this section. We may continue up to about 4 or 5 miles, 4 miles that way, and cut off on Trout River where it's a little more sheltered. And we'll wait for the rest of the trip, potentially tomorrow. We headed back to the east side of the island and departed the dock. Leaving Exchange Club Island dock, going through the mooring field, and there is over here, we can pass through here, good depth, and we'll emerge out into the St. John's. We only had to travel less than a mile north to get to the Arlington Marina where we would get fuel. We went a little beyond the marina and then went against the current to guide ourselves in. Notice the cactus there they've got growing for the pilot house-like office. They have pretty good facilities, but one thing we learned on our return trip a few days later is beware of their gas dock at low tide. We're back at Exchange Island, the mooring field. We're a little close to this guy. We can reposition later. Just there has been lightning and thunder and light rain and some moderate wind there. We came back after getting fuel. I came over. I did not pay attention very much. I was looking at the boat saying, hey, if they're anchored here, we can. And when you get over there, it's actually quite shallow and we hit mud. I know Janet noticed we weren't peeing out of the motor. It cleared a little bit, but I wanted to shut down right here. I'll investigate that later and possibly reposition the boat. We may be here for the night then. I just started it and revved it. It's spraying out a bit more than a stream, but it seems to be working better. I'll still try and get a toothpick and put it in there and clear it, or it may clear itself, but I'm glad it's not totally dead. The water pump is still pumping. Probably just the nozzle is a little clogged. Yeah, there was some lightning. We've got all these lightning rods around us. I hope we're protected. Yeah, the rain persists. We're swinging just a little bit, just for insurance. Oh, you can't see. Anyhow, it's just raining. I threw out the second anchor, the lighter anchor, and it's just hand thrown. It's not really set, but that's just for some insurance. If we do start to drag, it'll bite a bit. But the wind isn't that bad that we're going to drag. It feels set, so we're going to sit tight. Okay, we came back into the Arlington River. Our anchor started to drag and we were real close to one sailboat, and we saw two other sailboats sort of nestled together, so it really whipped up. That thunderstorm really whipped up. So this is the first bridge in the Arlington. We came in here and we were real shallow water. It's low tide, so that's good. The back end is in 2.5 to 3 feet of water, and I'll go to the front and show you. We're just up against some reeds. Here we are, muddy rushes or reeds, and we're real shallow up here. I put out 2 anchors just in case. It's not windy here, but on the bridle I've got 2 splayed out slightly just for some insurance. It made me nervous out there, but it really got rough. A lot of rough water. We couldn't afford to be photographing it at the time though. It was exciting. Well, the rain tapered off a bit, though it's still raining. Batteries are charging 2.4 amps from the solar cells. We both got soaked coming in from that storm, so here's all our stuff drying. It got nice enough that the rowers came out to practice as well, girls and boys teams. We're going to be starting with a bit of a slack tide, which means it's going off the high, and then we'll be into an ebb where it's actively flowing the other way, helping us go towards the ocean, and then there'll be a slack period. By that time we should be off onto Clapboard Creek. Of course, the current on Clapboard Creek is affected by all this too. More considerations for amateur sailor from the Detroit River area. It's Wednesday night, about 20 after 7 in the evening. This is the first bridge in from the St. John's on the Arlington River. And we came here seeking refuge, and we got actually a nice spot. So up against the grasses. Currently, this is probably 4 feet deep or so. I think we've got 4.5 or so under the stern. This is because we're at high tide. When we came in here, we were low tide. That area was mud sticking up about 6 inches. Okay. The good thing is, let's say the tide goes out and we get hung up. Maybe if we swung over there, it will be no problem, because tomorrow morning when we get up a little after 6 a.m. is high tide again, and we'll be out by 7:30 or so on our way. So again, we had the rowers from the locals. There's a school, I think it's a Episcopalian school, like an academy or a high school, and they're all doing their rowing. They have about 6 little motorboats that they use as chase boats, and there's the boathouse way over there on that corner. So they run that way, and then they run this way. So they have boats of 2, boats of 8, and I think I did see boat of 4 yesterday, but mainly the 8s. And you see a couple guys training. In the morning, there were a couple guys just got out for solo practice. In the morning it was calm enough, and then after the storm this afternoon, they came. So this is a nice place for the night. Things have calmed down, skies are looking up, weather's going to be good tomorrow. Yeah, we have a TV. It's not exactly wilderness camping, but then again, we've got city lights, we've got marsh, we've got bridges, we've got fish jumping. It's a mixture of things. I encourage you to subscribe, and the next episode is going to come out. I'm trying to put them out 1 a week till it's done, and then we'll be into our summer vacation here, and I'll be filming new content to put out later in the summer.